Welcome to the Horses and Holy Moments podcast.
Hi, Ingela.
Hi, Corrie.
Here we are again. I'm once again very happy. We are going to talk about something wonderful about horses and how we can learn more. So, my question today is, in a previous episode, we talked a bit about habituating horses. Could you go over the difference between habituating and desensitization?
Sure, I can. Because the word desensitizing means to make the horse less sensitive to a stimuli, I prefer the word habituating because getting a horse used to certain things like rhythm, noise, and touch, but not making the horse duller or less sensitive. Hence, I like to use the word habituation.
Yeah, that's a big difference, I would say. So, when would we actually desensitize a horse rather than habituate?
Right, when we look to habituate the horse to rhythm, noise, and touch, like we said in the previous episode, I like to watch for the stress signals and honor them by pausing and allowing the horse to make a choice. Assess the situation. Is this dangerous? Yes and no. Once he decided, no, it's not dangerous, I continue. And through this, the horse stays connected to me. It stays alert. It stays interested, curious, yet non-afraid of the object or the noise or the touch or approaching something or something approaching the horse. So normally with a young horse or any horse, but especially with a young horse, I would always look for the stress signals and then go through the gentling process aware of the stress signals. But there is an incident when I would actually use a desensitization process. It's rarer and it only happens when I really need to do it. It's not my preferred way.
Okay, I gotcha. What would that way be?
Okay. Or maybe when or why, right? So let's look at the when and why. If a horse has misunderstood something, by that I mean if a horse has become very, very sensitized to a small signal, a very small signal, and the horse is absolutely convinced this small signal means something, a movement, walk, trot, canter, for example. Then if I approach the horse, before I even do this signal or I do this signal, the horse would show either a response into the movement or potentially a stress signal. Now let's say the horse has learned that anytime I approach the horse with my hand towards the neck to lift the head up. And now the horse is very, very sure this is a signal to lift the head up. And if I'm approaching the horse with my hand toward the neck and the head comes up and I pause or even retreat, rather than I'm communicating to the horse that I saw his distress, I saw the stress signal, the horse is getting a reward for that he did the right thing. So he might not be stressed. He might not think this is scary at all. He has now learned that my hand coming toward the neck means to lift the head up, and that's what I want.
I gotcha.
That's one reason. So then I go over that boundary for where he lifts the head up. And I would desensitize the horse to that cue because it's not a cue. it's actually nothing. It's gentling. I want to rub my horse or wave something or touch him or anything like that. Meaning the horse needs to learn the difference between when do I ask him something. For that I use phases. And because the first phase is thought, then energy, then a body cue, and last the touch. And the touch is first the air, then it's a pause, then again energy, body cue, and then the second time the touch will be the hair and a pause, and then energy again, body cue, and touch, and this time the muscle. This time the skin, and the fourth time the muscle. Always taking all the phases away except phase one, the thought stays, because I usually use lead phases, and I use the phases that way. The touch means, did you hear me? But not in a, did you hear me kind of way. It's kind,
Yes.
like I would love to talk to you. Can you hear me? Right?
Right.
It's just to
right.
get the horse's attention. The moment I have the attention, I communicate with thought, energy, max a body cue. Now, so there we would use a touch as a phase. There, I would like the horse to respond by waking up and saying, are you talking to me, when I come towards the neck with my hand, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I've thought an energy for a direction of where to go. Okay.
And they can feel that for sure.
Yes.
It's amazing.
But if I want to wave at my friend or brush my
Mhm.
horse's mane, I would like him to stay completely relaxed because my energy is not having a direction. We're not going forward or backward or sideways. So my energy is either down or it's up or dispersed. Therefore, it has no direction for the horse to follow. It's not a phase, it's what we call gentling. That's the habituation process, getting the horse used to touch, rhythm, and noise, every part of his body, and also at a distance, also in every gait. Right? So now, this is our ideal. When I have a young horse and I come toward him to rub him with the stick and he shows me a stress signal by lifting up the head, for example, I would pause and immediately retreat till the horse has figured out, the stick is not dangerous, everything is okay, and I am able to stroke the horse with the stick.
Okay.
Now, let's say we make quite a few mistakes and the horse is no longer afraid of the stick, but it absolutely believes the stick means go.
Got it.
Or the
Yep.
stick means lifting the head up if we make it into a very small response. So as you're approaching the horse with the stick, the horse lifts the head up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're at a distance, we can't block, we can't communicate, no, don't lift your head up. So we need to desensitize the horse to that signal because it's not a cue. It's not a phase to go. It means nothing. So we need to tell the horse that that specific movement doesn't mean anything because the horse is not tuning into our thought and energy. It's watching the stick. So there is one reason why I might use a desensitization process.
Okay.
So one way I could do it is I could put a halter on the horse. I could ask the horse to lower the head, then approach with the stick. And if the horse lifts the head up, I would use a steady moving block on the halter. That means I would hold the rope below the halter knot, and as the horse brings the head up, the feel on that rope would increase, but the horse would be allowed to lift the head up and I would go with it, but there would be a stronger and stronger downward feel the more the horse lifts the head up. While I have the stick still in that position. And the moment the horse drops the head, I would retreat. Until the horse goes, aha. The stick approaching doesn't mean lifting the head up. But we do need to differentiate, is the horse worried and it's a stress signal or it's a learned behavior? If it's an incorrectly learned behavior, I need to desensitize my horse to it. Okay, so that would mean something like that. If I am swinging my stick or string over my horse's back, and the horse is believing that that means lifting the head up and walk forward.
Okay.
Then I will block that, but I will keep swinging my stick and string. Okay? And then
To make
not
it
just
clear
that,
of what you want.
to get
Yeah.
clear. Now, there is possibilities where the horse is having a negative emotion because our touch or emotion or a noise is reminding him of something else that means something to him. And he
Okay.
doesn't feel good about it. So what I would do is basically showing the horse that he hasn't died. Just because he has a negative emotion
Mm-hmm.
is not the end of the world. It's just an emotion and it will pass. It's okay to feel it for a little while and move it out of his body and through it, and it's gone. So it's possible that a horse is afraid of touch, but if you reward the stress signals, the horse gets worse and worse and more alert and more sensitized, mostly because of previous experience. So you can put the horse in what I call a washing machine. It's a type of flooding, but not by locking the horse in and just doing something to him so he falls into learned helplessness. There is a really big difference between that. Because remember in the previous episode, we talked about tying a horse or restricting his movement and just keep moving a Hessian back until he gives up and falls into learned helplessness. So it's not that. We don't want the horse to just get hopeless and give up. We want him to understand the difference between movement and when we're asking something or something that doesn't mean anything. And if he has a negative emotion about it because he made an association, then I might make it very clear to him, number one, that this doesn't mean anything by keep moving it. So I desensitize him to it. And number two, that it's okay to feel like this and I'm there for him, but this emotion will pass and he will come to a better feeling in his body. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes sense. You have to process it,
I
but
know
yes, it does make sense. And I love this way to help the horse because it's kind and clear.
Yeah, it's a
course,
highly complex subject.
Yeah, right.
It is.
Because you have to read the horse.
Yes,
and read what they're thinking.
It can be, quite difficult to figure out what technique do you need to apply and read the horse correctly to then do it. So for example, as a human, let's look at that from a human perspective. When we are little, let's say we have a 2-year-old boy and he was always in trouble and he got punished for everything and he was always the one in the wrong. But he didn't even realize he did something wrong and he didn't know what he could do better, but he was always the one shamed and blamed. Okay? If the child doesn't get that emotion named by the parents or comforted and doesn't get help to move that emotion through the body and out, like we do with babies when they cry, we pick them up, we rock them, we tap them, right? So if the boy doesn't get any help with that, when he's an adult, a part of him is still stuck in that 2-year-old emotional state. Meaning, when he feels like he's in trouble, that emotion comes up of feeling trapped, of feeling ashamed, blamed, accused, in trouble. And it's not a good emotion. Maybe it feels oppressive. Maybe it feels alone, lonely. Maybe it feels ashamed. It can feel many different ways, but it's a negative emotion. The adult person might be stuck with that emotion, staying in it, and then go into victim mode or into avoidance or into pleasing mode and basically trying to push the emotion away. So avoid would be to put it under the wall and just forget about it and go gardening. Pleasing would be to whoever caused that emotion to say whatever they need to hear so this negative feeling goes away, but they don't really mean it. And victim mode would be, oh, there's nothing I can do. Whatever I try, it's not good enough. It's never enough. And then go into a self-righteous victim, meaning I'm the bad guy. I'm the poor guy, not the bad guy. The other person is the bad guy. And poor me, there's nothing I can do about it. I did everything right, but they are just bad person, you know? So if the avoidance is very, very strong in the person, they don't want to feel the emotion because they hate that emotion. We all hate the negative emotions. We don't enjoy them. But someone that avoids goes introverted, shuts down, just like a horse that freezes, shuts down and waits for it to be over. So the person goes into this shutdown, avoiding and hoping the emotion goes away. For them to actually grow up, for that 2-year-old to mature, the emotion to get out of the body, that person to grow up and the heart to be healed and them to be able to correctly process the emotion by saying, oh, I'm having a negative emotion. I've had it for 20, 30 years. It didn't kill me. It's just an emotion that's telling me what's going on in my heart. It doesn't feel good, but it's just an emotion. The person needs to learn to, when they feel a negative emotion, that it's not just a word like anger or frustration or stress or fear. What is it exactly? Angry because I feel trapped. Angry because I feel alone. Angry because I feel controlled. Angry because I feel accused. Yeah? Naming the emotion, ashamed, alone, controlled. Sitting with the emotion for a few minutes and connecting to the inner child and going, okay, that's how the little boy felt or that's how the little girl felt. Sitting there and feeling the emotion for a little while. And then that emotion needs to be comforted because that was missed when the person was 2. And that's where we invite Jesus in and say, where is that little boy? Where is that little girl? And where were you, Jesus? And what was your heart for that person? And Jesus takes the pain. Jesus pulls the pain out. Jesus comforts the child. But if we are not willing to sit with this emotion, we're not willing to sit with it, we're trying to push it out by yelling, or we're trying to shut it down by avoiding, or whatever we're trying to do, if we're not willing to feel what the little child felt that hasn't grown up yet, and we're not willing to sit there with the emotion, then it's very difficult to actually get healed and grow up in that area. Every time we get triggered, it's all over again. Same feeling, same pattern. And this is what I see in horses that have not understood the gentling. They have mixed up, so 2 reasons. They mixed up the phases and the gentling. They think gentling, when they see something that's gentling, they think it's a phase and then they're confused. Or they have a negative emotion about being touched or seeing a rhythm because it was uncomfortable and nobody explained. So now they are afraid. So we can use the stress signals and maybe it works great. But depending on the horse and how old this is and what got triggered, we might have to help him feel that emotion for a little while we're there with him. So then the emotion can be moved out of the body and he can get okay with it. I recently dealt with a horse that had exactly that. the end result was that the owner was saying, well, my horse is not motivated. He does everything. He does walk, trot, canter when I ask him, but not with joy. Everything is with hesitation. Everything he makes me feel like he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do anything. Zero motivation. Difficult to get moving. Ears half back. No connection. No reaching for the human. No wanting to communicate. Just standing there and waiting to be made to do something. That's not fun. So with him, from a distance, I watched the stress signals. Just that. From maybe 20 yards. Then he was wide open. He let me do all the gentling. He was no problem. And before, they could not touch his neck. He lifted his head every time. If they touched his chest, he always moved backward. Then they got him to a place where he would stand still. But the next day it starts again. Go with your hand towards the chest. He moves back. So it means he didn't understand the gentling. He mixed it up with phases. He avoided it because he was uncomfortable. And he had a misunderstanding of what it meant. So this particular horse, I first watched the stress signals. He became motivated. He interacted with me. He walked, trotted, and cantered with me easily. He followed me. Then, when I put my hand on his chest and he moved backward, I put it on his chest anyway, started rubbing him and scratching him until he stopped going backward, and I kept rubbing and scratching. And then he's like, whoa, that's nice. I guess it doesn't mean anything. And then I did the same with my hand toward the neck. As I came with the hand, he lifted his head up and I touched him anyway and started stroking and rubbing him and until he lowered his head. Then I stopped. And pretty soon I could move my hand to his chest and stroke him and scratching and rub him, and he would not back up. Move my hand towards his neck and he would drop his neck and completely relax. It was because he had a misunderstanding. So there I use desensitization. I rub him until he drops the head. I scratch him and rub him on the chest until he stops going backwards and relaxes. So that's desensitization.
Which that horse, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that horse, I personally or others maybe would think he sounds a little bit dull, but he's actually not dull because he let you know that he wasn't okay with the touch. Is that correct?
It's
would
correct.
you say?
You know, to them he felt dull, slow, unmotivated, and they had to do a lot to get him moving. But the moment I stepped in there, I knew he was super sensitive, really, really sensitive. From a distance of like 20, 30 meters, he was aware of me. And when I showed him that I saw that, and I stopped and backed up, I did that 3 or 4 times. He felt heard, seen, felt, and understood. And he let me go all the way to him. I right away touched him everywhere, started to swing a stick and a string. He stood still, and then he relaxed. And the owner said, it's the first time he actually dropped his head and relaxed ever. Before that, he would just stand there, a little bit frozen inside, but he doesn't look frozen. He looks bored or eyes half closed, sleepy, but he was frozen. He was not interactive. He just waited and let it happen to him. This is the learned helplessness. So he opened because of the stress signals, and he was super sensitive and then so interactive. He put his head over my shoulder. When I stopped, he put his head down. He stayed with me. He was super attentive and alert and very soft and very light, playful even. When we ran together, he shook his head. He was happy boy, you know? And then, that's what I did that through the stress signals. He opened because he felt heard and understood and felt. But then the misunderstandings, I did the desensitization. There's another a little bit more extreme process that's called the washing machine.
Yes, I've heard you talk about that. Would you share more?
Yes, it's another challenging concept, but in a nutshell, instead of waving something, say for example, next to the horse, or let's say we want to tap the horse on the neck and give him a little massage and we would love for him to relax. but he is thinking it means go or head down or head up or something like that. If we keep tapping, he might not get through this. So instead of keep tapping in one spot or stopping the moment we see a stress signal, if it's a misunderstanding, we can put the horse in the washing machine. That means we might softly tap him on the neck, back, hindquarters, belly, chest, front, between the front legs, everywhere on his body, and alternate really quickly. Like tap, 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 but tap, neck, back, shoulder, belly, chest, hindquarters, tap, 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 everywhere. So the horse goes, wait a minute, this cannot possibly be a phase. I mean, my person here has a tendency to be a little slow in the communication, but they're not that inaccurate. Okay? Because what does it mean? If you tap the front of the chest and the back of the hindquarters, well, one would be backward, one would be forward if you would use dominant phases, right? So the horse is going, okay, it cannot mean go. It cannot mean go forwards, backwards, left, right, up and down. So then the horse might get a little bit anxious because he's trying to go to all these places.
Mm-hmm.
That's a desensitization process to say, no, nothing, there is no energy here for a direction. So all this tapping and waving and jumping and stuff doesn't mean anything. So it's basically if the horse doesn't recognize the gentling and he thinks it's a phase, you can go to the washing machine and tap him fast and light, absolutely everywhere. So he goes, okay, it can't mean anything. And the horse, even though he felt a little tense, will absolutely relax and accept it. It's not a toleration and it's not a learned helplessness.
Wow, that's awesome. And what comes to my mind is just to help them with the fear, because the fear comes up. But when you make it clear for them, they must be like, oh my goodness, someone finally is making it clear, which kind of goes back to us too, with when you were saying the negative emotion that we can feel, instead of suppressing and denying it, to sit with it, like you said.
Yes, feel it for a little while. Recognize it's just an emotion and then it can move out of the body. That's right.
Yeah.
And in a human, it's more complex, but in a horse, they have a lot of fears and for that stress signals work very well. But they also have a lot of misunderstandings and very often the horse just misunderstood the difference between gentling and phases, mostly because we're not consistent. Sometimes our stick means something, sometimes not. Sometimes we forget to first communicate with energy. We already use a body cue or a stick before we put energy there. And that's confusing for the horse. Because he feels where we open space, where we close space, where we send energy, like walk energy, trot energy. He feels it. But if we don't do it and already use the rope or the stick or a body cue, then he gets confused because sometimes we use energy that has a direction, other times not. Sometimes we want him to move with it and sometimes not. So that is challenging for them.
That's so challenging. And so with us, we would want to practice and get, it might take some time for us to
it takes practice for us to be consistent. Use thought, energy, body cue, touch, absolutely. But it's not often that we have to put a horse in this so-called washing machine or tumble dryer, And we're calling it that because the clothes get tumbled all around. There's nothing specific. So it's just sometimes some horses need that. Some horses have had abuse happening to them. Some horses have just been misunderstood. And I don't know if you've ever seen a horse, but it gives you it stands there and you're stroking it on the neck and it looks at you like you are abusing it, like you're really hurting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a very not good feeling for a human. We feel sorry for them. We're like, no, I'm not wanting to hurt you at all. I just wanted to stroke your mane,
Yes.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's how they read things and how that relates for them to something in the past.
Yeah. Um, I know you have a course called Meraviglia. I hope I say that right, but
Maravilla.
Meraviglia. But you worked with a very abused mayor in that
Ah,
course.
yes, I did. So
And I wondered, how did you use a mixture of the stress signals, the habituation, the washer machine, because she had such a terrible
yes, that's right. Now
abusive
that you're
background.
reminding me, yeah, that course is called Creating the Fearless Horse, Gentling Principles in Practice. There was a moment where I had to use this type of washing machine technique actually on her nose, on her nostrils, because she had so much trauma and so much association with the past. Anytime we touched her, even when we tried to use the stress signals, she stayed shy. She didn't allow us to get closer. So I had to say to her, listen, I know it feels terrible, but you haven't died. You survived it. You're still here. I'm still here. We're going to get through this. And it is not half as bad as you think. It could be enjoyable. And then she got through it and she actually enjoyed it in the end.
Which is so encouraging that that they can get through it, and as we learn and practice, and that we can get through it too. I love that.
Yes, absolutely. And
Awesome.
the the subject of desensitization, habituation, gentling, and even the washing machine, it is a really, really big horsemanship subject. And it's really quite difficult to talk about it on a podcast because the words we're saying might translate into an entirely incorrect picture in a listener. So if you are listening to this, we really encourage you to come and watch. Watch it on YouTube, watch it in a course, watch it live, because you're going to get a much better understanding and a much better picture of what this actually looks like. Because what we don't want is doing something to the horse. We want to do things for the horse, helping them overcome fears, helping them get clear when they have misunderstandings. We don't want to force them or push them into a place of having to accept things, because then they don't actually accept, they just tolerate.
Yes. And going back to your courses, but the Nexo course, that breaks so much down of the gentling and phases. And I'm not sure, like, that you go through the washing machine, but it definitely, we can see the basics. And I love how relaxed he stays the whole time while you're starting him under saddle. And it's just really cool to watch. So
Glad you liked it. Yeah,
I love
Nexo,
that.
the Lusitano Stallion, didn't need the washing machine. But in that course called Creating the Fearless Horse, it's a whole series, I went extensively through gentling phases and blocks and explained it, and in a very good visual. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ingela. This has been amazing as always.
You're very
And
welcome.
I can't wait till we get to talk next time.
I look so forward to it, Corrie.
All righty.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Horses and Holy Moments podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode.